Gino. Day 7, ride number 6. Still a little too, wanting to be a little too close. Sort of a change of venue. The round yard was at this venue the first few days he worked here. This is a big indoor just over from where the round yard was. So again, something a little different for him to contend with. But like we've said in the past, not a big change for him. So we're going to aim to have a similar day to what we had yesterday, where we'll try to keep it reasonably short, if that works out for him as well. So just while we're sending him around a little bit, somebody mentioned the other day, you know, the clucking and the kissing noises is kind of universal in the Western world, to kind of cluck to go a little faster. So when we're stepping from a walk into a jog, we'll often cluck. And a canter is a kissing noise, which is you hear me say a lot. Now, Gino's still learning that association with those noises and what he has to do. Just keeping his head towards me, like he went past, but I wanted to make sure he didn't go too directly past and I was in line of his back legs. So going forward is a little bit like stopping. There's a verbal request. So in his case, it's cluck. You could say trot on. You could say Rumpelstiltskin. It wouldn't really matter to him, provided you did the same thing every time. You could teach him Rumpelstiltskin meant go faster. So there's a verbal request, and then, you know, there's a physical backup. And then there's a stronger physical backup until he gets doing what we want. It's very much the same as saying whoa. When I say that, that's all I'm going to do is quit riding him forward. So take the energy and the life out of my seat and my movement. Or now. We even do it a little bit on the ground. You know, we take that energy out. It's great that he stopped and he turned, but he sort of came into me. I don't want him to get in the habit, especially when we're lunging, of sort of coming into this zone too much. Unless I really invite him in. So in the case of whoa, we do all of that without any physical ramifications. Oh, buddy. And then of course if he doesn't stop, then we might pull on him. In this case we're just going to draw him around on that halter. We'll keep video running today, provided we don't have any video malfunctions. And we're just going to lunge him a little bit at a jog, just to work him around. And then we'll jump on. So we'll jump on while he's still got plenty of energy. Good boy. And we'll see how that goes, because you know, we might jump on and he's got more energy, but that'll give us other issues. His little look there is his friends over in that corner there somewhere. So he's keeping half an eye out for him. So today I'm going to let him investigate the arena a little bit. I'm still going to try and hover down this end just for the videoing purposes. But it's a nice big arena. It's about 40 by 80 meters, so even half this arena is still quite a bit. Boy. Just changing, as I mentioned before, this halter mainly for the different lead length. So a little shorter lead to ride with. And I find the length of this lead really convenient to flick over his head, steer him, tap him on the butt. Like I said, we're kind of aiming for a repeat of yesterday where we don't work all that long. And he just does a nice easy job of it all. And yeah, he probably gets to quit early. So again, trying to help encourage him to have a little bit more work ethic. So we could have a little period here where we have a few easy days if he's sort of happy to go along with everything before the workload starts to increase again. But even then, the workload increases like it would for a physical training program to me for a human. Like if you wanted to run 5 kilometers, you wouldn't start out on day one trying to run 5 kilometers. You'd run as far as you can, and that might be 100 meters. And then you'd slowly increase each day. So when I work a horse, you know, it's not only mentally that I've got to be aware of how much he has to deal with and what his capacity might be, but there's also a physical component. But just like human athletes, you kind of have to go to where you are feeling it a little bit and then just go a little bit more. So you get stronger and more capable of a bigger workload. But you don't go a lot more, because if you go a lot more, you could get hurt, injuries will happen. Not to mention it kind of kills your spirit because everything hurts. So I always keep that in mind when I'm working a horse, because I don't want that same thing happening to him where he gets a little, you know, sore and everything's hurting. But I can't always stay in his physical and mental comfort zone, or he'll never grow. If I'm constantly trying to make him feel comfortable and happy, he'll never grow. But it does depend a little bit on the horse. Like, this horse is pretty quiet and he's very intelligent, so he kind of needs a certain amount of input to keep going. But there's other horses that I've worked that were, a lot more skittish. They're a little bit more high strung. And they really benefited from having days of, doing pretty much the same stuff. So maintaining the status quo for a while, just till they got really confident. And when they got really confident, then I'd move on. So almost a tinge of boredom. And boredom just means they're kind of doing something that they're that familiar with and happy with. And they get a little tiny bit bored, and then I try to move on before they get too bored. But that's that high-strung horse. He needs to feel more secure. So he needs those periods in his training. This guy's, a lot quieter, and he's intelligent, so he needs a little bit more challenge and a little bit more constant. But that's up to you as a horse person to assess your horse too. As we said, we didn't sort of canter him, so we might have a little more play today. I don't know. That might be all there is to it. But that could be, so we've had days where he hasn't want to go forward, and we've had to be a little tough on him, and he's got grumpy about that. And today, he hasn't quite had the warm-up or the physical warm-up, so he might be a little fresher and full of energy. So he might jump around today because he's having a little play. So that might be a little exercise in self-discipline for him. As like he wants to run and play, well, you got a rider on you now. You can't do that anymore. And like I mentioned before, like he's had this one rein stop, or doubling to a stop, or bending to a stop, or drawing one rein to a stop, however you want to term it, to help get him under control. So today, if he wanted to run and be silly, we're going to be doing more of that. But it's going to be slightly harder today, because the atmosphere is different. He hasn't had the warm-up. It's not quite the same. So we're testing him a little bit. I'd still like him to start the session nice and easy, just having a look, assessing the place, not get into racing around too early. But yeah, he hasn't had any free time today to run around this arena and assess it. Or just about every other time he has. So. So it's just upping the pressure again. Like we said, we're taking a little bit more each day. We're making those few more decisions and asking that little bit more of him mentally, focus-wise, etc. G'day, thank you so much for watching. If you could like, share, subscribe, turn on the notifications bell, that would be awesome. Thank you. Cheers. I like to rub him down with this rope a little bit because I obviously use it to chase him up, and I don't want him afraid of ropes. So he kind of knows I'm only going to use that rope in an aggressive manner or an assertive manner, not really aggressive, if he doesn't do as he's asked. Or do as he's encouraged at this stage. We're not really we're encouraging and asking, and we're not being too demanding. So he's done a few turns and bends, and I would imagine there might be some more coming, just while we keep him under control. So we've sort of had some slow time looking around the place and done some of the more technical stuff. And he's done a very cool job of that. So we'll step him on up into a jog and a canter. We're not being too rough on him for choosing to stop, just asking him to go again. So if he's very high strung and very forward, it'd be a lot different. Like if I had a horse who was super forward, if he chose to stop, I'd be patting him and saying, it's okay to be lazy. I kind of like it when you take things easy. This horse is a lot less forward. I'm saying, well, nobody actually specifically asked you to stop, so you need to keep going. But I'm still not being overly tough about it. It's like we said, these things are all black and white with the steering. Like I hold that lead out, and if he follows it, that's all there is to it. There's like a turn and a release, and a turn and a release, until he just kind of follows these suggestions. Forward. Whoop. So he stopped a little faster than I thought he would, and he kind of stuck his nose out, so I just want him to yield to that halter a little bit. Like later on, we're going to ask him to do that with two reins, I'm not going to pull on him to stop, but I do want him to stay soft in his front end. So I can ask him to stay soft with one lead, I can ask him to stay soft with two. I bent him around and wanted him to stay soft, and he, you know, kind of rooted his nose out, chucked his nose out against it. And even at this stage, I'm thinking, well, that's something I really want to discourage in a hurry. So I kept him bent around until he, until he yielded to that. But again, he took off without too much disagreeing about it. So let's step him on up again. So I'm kind of not really making a circle, but I'm trying to keep him in this general area. Like I said, more for the video and the audio. So there's a turn and a release. Because sometimes, like I said, when you're circling, you know there's turn, 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 turn. Like he's done all of that himself. And then I'm going to ask him. He followed that feel really good. Now he's on a loose rein. So he's done all of that one on his own. You can see how loose that lead is there, and he's just kind of following that suggestion now rather than arguing with it. And these are the things I'm looking for before I start thinking about, you know, is he ready for two? Is he ready for two reins? You know, is he ready for me to move on with? Again, I kind of want him happy and contented at each stage. Before I move on. You can see as soon as I flip that lead over, he gets ready. Oh, no. He stopped really nice. I never pulled on him to stop, but I'm just going to work this little exercise again where I'd like him to stop and then be soft. Good boy. And then give him a break. So he's done another super job today. We haven't done a lot. So now I'm kind of mentally tossing up. Do I want to ask him to do just a little bit more again or call it a day? I think I might just do a little bit more. Oh. And it's kind of funny, the little bit more is more like just to see if it was a fluke or not. You know, as in, is he distracted? Is he somewhere new? You know, was it a fluke that he took off nice? Or is he really starting to accept? You know, and if he gives me another couple of nice transitions, I'll feel like he did really, you know, just accept everything as it was happening. So we'll just give him one little go back this way. And he is done again for today. Oh, good job. So that's great. I think we, you know, really established, because we did just those few extra transitions into a canter, that he's, you know, really coming along and accepting it. Obviously, his overall workload wasn't too big, so it's a great spot to finish. And like we say at the end of the day, and this did literally go through my mind a little bit when I was training horses. At the end of the day, usually when I turn them loose back into their paddock, I'd give him a little rub. He's got a little bit to look at. I give him a little rub around the ears, tell him that I love him, and walk away. So it really was like me saying, you know, I did the best I could, so I'm going to give you a rub, because I know you know, you're doing the best you can with the human you got stuck with. And we kind of know that's the case almost across the board. You know, the horses sort of have to deal with us, and we have to learn how to talk to them in a way they understand. So anyway, it's a super cool journey, and Gino's done for another day. We'll catch you tomorrow. See you then. G'day. Thank you very much for watching. I do really appreciate it. This video of Gino's journey is meant to be more of a entertainment video, not educational, as in it's not a how-to video. All horses react and start differently. If you are going to attempt to start your own horse, you really need to enlist the help of a seasoned professional, or get a seasoned professional to do your horse for you and get them started. It's not an easy job, and it's not a job to be taken lightly, because this is your horse's introduction to the rest of his riding career, and it's really not to be messed with. So take it for what it is. It's a lot of fun to watch. It's been a lot of fun to share, and I really appreciate that you've taken the time to watch it, and that you'll keep watching the channel. Thank you very much. Cheers.